Wisco, what is going on, everybody? Golly, I got to remember it's not just Wisco these days. Whether you're tuning in from Michigan, Minnesota, Canada, we had some folks from the UK were asking questions the other day. Man, just it has been an awesome couple of weeks. I always love checking in with you guys. This is my jam, the podcast. This is where it all started. For those of you new, please make sure you just leave a comment, #replay, so we know when people are checking in. We like to make sure we are trying to find the best times to do things in that. So all data is good data. If you are watching, please make sure you hit that like, hit the share, whatever. This thing is blowing up, folks. We need to just keep going the way we are. Man, a lot of stuff happening, a lot of stuff cooking. Nothing more exciting, though, than the guy we got on tonight's show. We're going to get into that in just a hot second. Huge shout out to Ignite Dispensary, the show's sponsor. They are located all across the state of Wisconsin, from Spooner down to Milwaukee. You name it. Make sure you check them out. That's Ignite Dispensary and Cigar. I can't share the link because Facebook keeps shutting it down because it says dispensary, and Facebook don't like the word dispensary. Shout out to you folks. Reminder, jalapenos. So we're talking jalapenos on the page. Jalapenos is the good green that you're looking for, that you're used to, the quality cannabis. So you see jalapenos on the page, comments, whatever. That's just a quick reminder. Jalapenos are the good stuff. You're looking for spicy, you're looking for quality, you're looking for jalapenos. Shout out to a few plugs. We'll get in on that here after the show. Just a quick reminder after this show, pending I don't fall asleep afterwards, because our little one is starting to teeth. That's neat. Did not know about all that jazz. Anyways, we'll save going into that anymore. Gonna get some sleep, but we're gonna try some of this Snoop flower, see what that's about after the show. We'll do a quick little live after this. I got the heater going in the garage. Hopefully I don't forget to go shut that off after this. All right, without further ado, man, you want to talk about a pretty awesome individual. Got a chance to meet this fella. Oh my God, days are all mixed up. This would have been last weekend out in Door County. He's having essentially, providing like a potluck, or whatever you call it, where you've got like the stuff lined up, but you provide it all. Providing food for the veterans, no cost, donations for the public to give back to the community. I've heard so many things about this guy over the last week or two, and man, it's just like all great, and just, man, what a cool guy. Super excited to have him here. And also, again, I shared that interesting fact. This man got 11% of the vote as a libertarian, while Mark Gallagher's running doing his thing. And just hearing this guy talk in public, folks, I don't know where his stance is on still running or not, but we need more common sense in politics. So just much appreciation for this gentleman bringing light to that for the time he put in. And we'll find out wherever he is at on that stage as we go forward. Again, politics should be a lot more common sense than they are. And I think this gentleman will help get that message across as well. Real quick, I forgot to have the comments up. We got Randy in the house. We got Heather, Mohican. Wow, Barry's here from Two Creeks. I didn't even know that. Where's Two Creeks? Is that Wisconsin? Haven't heard that one yet. Holy Jalapenos, exactly. Jav knows what's up. Devin's here, and Glenn. Good evening, everybody. Thank you again for stopping out. Let's get cooking. Let's get them jalapenos in the water. Start boiling. Jake, how we doing, man? Thanks for hopping out.
I'm doing fantastic, and thanks for having me on. It's been a while since I've shot in a podcast here from my office, so
right on, man.
Definitely
we appreciate it. It's kind of nice, though, right? Like, yeah, it's cool to go to a studio and stuff, but it's also nice to like do your day to day and then just kind of take that hat off real quick and go do a little chill sesh, like that,
Yeah, I've actually never done an in studio podcast. I've got one on Friday, but otherwise, all the podcasts I've done have been.
All right, fair enough.
Here in the computer, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, man, I accept that challenge, and let's give it a year. I'm hoping within a year. Hey, there's Al. What's up, man? Hopefully within a year, we're gonna come back to this. Well, I mean, I'd love to have you on whenever if you want to come on next week, whatever. You just let me know. But I also want to get a studio where we're kind of hanging, we're kind of passing it around. You know what I'm saying? Passing them jalapenos, doing it up. So
that's the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks again for stopping out. So just in case, do you know where Two Creeks is?
I know where Two Rivers is.
All right. So check this out. He says Two Creeks is just north of Two Rivers. I can't tell if this guy's messing with me. This almost seems like a setup, like some bowls. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay.
And I should know that too, because I used to in the wintertime when the farm slows down, I actually drive a propane truck. And,
okay.
So
you do some delivery? Because if he comes at me and he says just north of Two Creeks is like two beaches, man, I'm out of here. I know we're here. Uh, no,
Oh, that's good stuff.
man. Wally, we dug through all the stuff we were gifted. We got some teething rings going into the fridge, and I appreciate that. Yeah, we've got that going on. So, hey, Jose's in Green Bay. Me too, man. Right on. Let's
Beautiful.
catch up this weekend. We're going to be at Bay Family. Shout out to our Bay Family, our Bay family. They're letting us host a little breakfast there at 9 a.m. Check the page for the event details. Just a little Canada community get together. Oh shoot, we could probably bring some of that Snoop jalapeno. So appreciate you guys very much stopping out. And again, Jake, let's chop it up, man. Can you tell us a little bit about? I feel like anytime I talk to somebody, regardless of exactly what you do today, when somebody served this country, like I struggle sometimes because it's gotta. I never want it to be lost when people say like thank you for your service. So I always try to just say it in a different form or fashion because I don't want it to feel like just another person saying it, but like legitimately, especially talking about like trying to be loud and proud about cannabis and that like these things aren't a thing if it aren't people like yourselves out there fighting the good fight. And I legitimately mean that. So I appreciate your service first of all. And can you just explain a little bit about how you got in to the service? Like where was it I gotta get my shit together, how did it start for Jake?
It actually started way back in 2001 actually.
Okay.
I actually enlisted before September 11th even happened. That's that long ago, which makes me feel really old now that
Bro,
I'm
that
saying
does
it.
seem like a while ago. Not gonna
But
lie, sorry.
to be completely honest, I thought it would help picking up chicks if I had a uniform. So that's kind of what kicked the ball off. And
Gotcha.
at that point in time, the state of Wisconsin, I signed up and enlisted into the Marinette Guard unit up in Marinette, and they had tanks. So they're
Oh,
still an armored division. So I was 17 years old, and they brought me all the way out to Fort McCoy, and they let me drive an M1 Abrams tank that had a cooler of beer and a Weber grill strapped to the back of that bad boy.
oh
So I
God.
was like, holy
You were
crap.
picking up chicks.
I was like, this is absolutely incredible. Why isn't everybody doing this? So I spent the rest of the summer, and I think it was about 8 of us out of my senior year. We got all enlisted and locked cocks, ready to rock. And then we rolled into our senior year of high school and started watching planes hit the World Trade Center. And obviously, the world changed after that.
Sure.
And went to basic training and made it through that. Fort Benning, Georgia. It was myself, a gentleman named Dan McCauley, and Brian Adelmeyer were the very first soldiers post transition into infantry to actually attend the infantry school down in Fort Benning, Georgia, out of the state of Wisconsin. So
Oh
we were
wow.
the very first ones that were down there, and that had its perks, but that's a tough course. Anybody who's been on Sand Hill understands it's not an easy course.
Sure.
But got out of that, worked jobs for a short time. That was in 2002, and by 2004, we were being deployed to Iraq, and that was spicy. I actually did 2 tours back to back. We were deployed with originally with Bravo Company, 127 out of Green Bay. And when they were getting ready to transition home, I actually volunteered to stay with the oncoming unit, which was Charlie Company, 121st Field Artillery out of Sussex, Wisconsin, and stayed for the majority of that tour until I was actually med flighted home for a traumatic brain injury. Got a
Oh
little
no.
too close to the boom booms and got the old cabbage rattled a little bit, but
Gotcha.
that's all right. Is what it is. So it definitely has a little extra challenge to life, mainly with writing. But nonetheless, after that, struggled for a very long time, actually for the better part of a decade. Tried to go to the VA, tried to get help with the VA counselors. At one point in time, I was loaded right up with medications. Some of
Sure.
them should not have been prescribed with each other. And it's almost like no one was paying attention. They were
Yeah.
giving me prescriptions to counter effect side effects from the other prescriptions. Every time I was going in, I was getting a new drug, and it was tough. Um, but I was also down a really dark path. Those drugs weren't helping. They were probably making things worse off than what they were. And it got to the point to where I'd pick up a 12 pack of beer after work every day and
Sure.
go home and start drinking. And usually by the 10th beer, I started playing with my pistol. And this was on a fairly regular basis. This wasn't just once in a great while. This was pretty regularly. And I was still in the National Guard, and there wasn't much help there because got to be tough, got to be that alpha male. But the girl that I was dating and living with at the time, one night came out of the bedroom and put a joint down on the table in front of me and says, "I want you to smoke this." I said, "I can't because I'm in the National Guard and they'll kick me out if I do." Then, well, she goes, if you do what you're thinking about doing right now, the National Guard is not going to matter anyways. So she
Damn.
was right. And so I smoked it. And that was the night that changed my life, truly. That was the first night that I had slept. And I didn't even know how long, probably the better part of a decade, but I slept and I slept hard. And I don't care what mental health issues that you're struggling with, if you're lacking sleep, that's going to be compounded 1,000 times. Good sleep is the core to your health on so many different levels. But so to this day, I use it to sleep. It is one of the best medicines that I have found to sleep and to calm. Normally, I have anxiety so bad that I even have chest pains. But as soon as I'm home and I can shut her down and relax a little bit, um, it calms me down. It is one of the most useful tools that I've ever had.
Sure.
And that's what really kind of stemmed my run for Congress in 22 as well. Was well, that amongst a pile of other things. It wasn't just that, but
Sure.
yeah, our country is definitely fallen off the tracks a little bit here.
Definitely. Well, first of all, sometimes folks, or I hear a lot that sometimes folks come and go from our lives, and for due reason, and sometimes they stick around, and there's just sometimes things play out. But man, so thankful for that lady who gave you that joint, bro, because like if I maybe should have vetted you a little more, because maybe I could have got my feelings out of the way a little bit. I'm kind of a softie, and just to hear another story, not even a story, it's so much more than a story. To me, a story can still be misunderstood. It still could be fable. To hear a testimony of somebody's life who wow, I don't even know for sure where I'm going with that. Just very grateful that you were able to. And isn't it crazy? When you look at the amount of doctors you were probably trying to work with, and we forget sometimes when we say people are struggling or this, that, the other. We forget not just that they're struggling, but the struggle they're going through.
Yeah.
So to think about how many nights you had to be in some pretty scary places, and you're trying to reach out to all your resources, and everything is pointing to don't touch that joint, whatever you do, Jake.
Yep.
That's just so crazy to me. And unfortunately, you hear that quite a few times, and that's really what sparked my advocacy journey, or whatever you want to call it. Is I have pretty comfortable access to cannabis myself. Worst case scenario, I got to run up to Michigan, but usually I got somebody local. Um, but man, to hear people like yourself, I know I'm not politician material. I'm not. Um, I just struggle with a lot of things as far as whatever. But when it comes to being able to advocate for change, knowing there's people like yourself who have benefited from a plant that's so misunderstood, uh, like just thank you for being open and sharing that. And I'm so thankful that you found that little thing inside of you that said, well, fuck it, what else is there to try? This ain't gonna kill me, right? Like, and that's what I tell a lot of folks.
That's
Like,
yeah.
worst case scenario, you tried it, it doesn't work for you. This, no one's saying you have to use cannabis.
Yeah.
But
Worst case scenario, you can't even hurt yourself on it.
right.
That's I think that's the part that's most blind. And to be fully honest, the most shocking part when I took that very first puff and I felt it start coming in, I was actually kind of disappointed because it wasn't nearly what
Right. It
The
wasn't
dare
like,
officers are telling you
yeah,
and how dangerous it is. I'm like, this is it.
right.
This is actually kind of nice.
Right.
What are
Right.
these guys talking about? I don't understand.
Bro, you want
It,
to know where so the first time I tried it, similar situation, right? Well, okay, whoa, sorry, not similar situation, but it's wow, not similar situation. But as far as like, oh, I don't know, this is really bad stuff I'm about to do, Beans. What are you doing? Your parents tried to raise the best kid they could. Here you are
yeah,
gonna smoke the reefer. And bro, we're in the driveway of the house that I now bought from my parents. We're in the
yeah,
driveway in my buddy's little Cavalier light dome light he flips on so he can pack a bowl. I kind of figured they were going to do that in front of
yeah.
me to see if I wanted to partake. And bro, it's a bong that is in the shape of a Grim Reaper. And like, talk about some scary shit, bro. I was like, oh my
Oh.
God, if I don't do this, I'm gonna die because the devil is right there. Like the Grim Reaper is right there. Like, this is, I have to do this. And I remember coming in afterwards and kind of like, well, what's so bad about this? And I remember the munchies and kind of like relaxing my ADHD
Yeah,
brain. It was just this, but man, I totally feel you on the like,
that's the big one too.
right,
I got ADHD as well, and I can tell you
sure,
it's all over. It's 100 miles an hour all day, but I also use it to my advantage.
same, same,
So like there's a lot of like on the farm here, there's a lot of mundane tasks. So when it comes into springtime and
sure,
we're doing our spring planting or our transplant program that we do for the schools, you're literally putting seeds in little holes all day long.
hundreds and thousands, yeah,
But that also puts me in the position I, of having listened to podcasts and to audiobooks.
yeah,
I legitimately I will go through a book either a day or every other day.
oh sure,
Probably now have a book habit. Unfortunately, I would be my parents would be floored to even hear those words come out of my mouth. But it's what it is, and having that book playing in my ears, or even when I'm driving propane truck right now, having that play in the background,
yeah,
I can concentrate on two things at once and still be extraordinarily successful at both.
sure.
So if you do have ADHD, I kind of consider it a superpower.
Yeah, if you can harness it for
Use it.
sure. And I've been dialing that in for sure. Mainly starting with a good friend. I just met him too, kind of similar to yourself. And I'm meeting all these awesome folks. All it just the most bizarre year of my life. Wouldn't change a thing because you just meet real people. There's no better way to meet people than real people.
Yep.
And just kind of the real, like you meeting you out at the DC farm event. Like I can't even describe what's happened over the last year. And somebody just kind of saying, "Hey, Beans, did you know if you just eat this paleo, is that what it's called, paleo? Have you heard of that? Where you just eat meats and
Peyote?
greens for like 2 weeks? Ever hear that?"
Oh no, no, I
And it
haven't.
like because a lot of these foods we eat, he's like, the foods are slowing you down. He's a grower. Okay. He's a masterclass grower. And when I smoked his stuff, I was like, yo, yep, you are a masterclass grower. And when he's like, and Beans, because he actually helped me with my first grow a couple of years ago. I didn't put two and two together right away. But he's like, Beans, so you understand I'm good with plants. And I'm like, yes. He's like, Beans, the only other thing I love more than plants is helping people. And he said, your body is like a plant. And right now you're feeding it all this junk nutrients and they're
Yep.
made to want you to go back to them and eat them. And he's like, just if and I told him everything I got on my plate. And he's like, this is going to sound weird coming from me because we just kind of started talking, but he's like, just eat meats and greens and vegetables, fruits for 2 weeks. And he said, you will be so focused. And bro, it's only been six
Oh yeah.
days, but something's happening. It's kind of bizarre. Talking about the ADHD and a superpower. Like, I don't even know. It's kind of scary. We'll see where it ends up. But getting back to thank you for being here, Jake. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for not giving up on yourself and keeping the fight. That's what they train you to do, right? I would assume is like it's gonna get hairy, and you gotta. It's gonna always come down to your body. Um, you know, sometimes what we're being
Yeah.
told isn't the truth. So
Very that's a big one. And that was one of the we bring that back to the food here, and that's kind of one of the main reasons why we got kicked off into farming. Fast forward after Iraq, struggled with some jobs, struggled with several relationships, divorce, two kids, two moms, and that's maybe not standard with every veteran that came home, but it was we lived a lifetime in the 12 months that we were in Iraq. We saw more
Sure.
life in 12 months and experienced more in that short time than most people do an entire lifetime.
Sure.
So a lot of us made deals with God. Just get me home, and I'll live a quiet, simple life. I'm gonna get a wife, have a couple kids. I'm gonna come straight home from work. No more drinking, no more chasing women, no more drugs. I'm just gonna live a quiet life. Just please, dear God, get me home.
Yep.
So we all run home and marry the first woman that says yes, and that 99% of the time that turned out to be a train wreck. Not just for myself, but for several. But several failed relationships, and finally I met my wife that I currently have. Um, and believe it or not, 6 months before I met her, I was actually homeless,
Oh
living
God.
out of my suburban. So I mean, we really went down far. But
Sure.
so that would legitimately be less than a decade ago, 9 years ago. I was homeless,
Oh
and
shit.
so everything that you've seen thus far between the farm and the Congress, running for Congress, and my political life, that was all just accomplished in just 9 years.
Damn.
So I'm only getting started. This is just the entry. But
Sure.
we decided to, when we were living in Kiwani, and I was working at the shipyard in Sturgeon Bay, and I was actually going to college at UWGB, and I had to take an environmental science class. And the very first assignment was to watch this movie called King Corn and then go 2 weeks without eating or drinking anything that had corn in it.
Mm.
So we started looking at product labels and we're like, holy shit,
Bro,
corn
everything's got
is
corn in
in
it. High fructose corn
everything.
syrup is in everything.
It's all over the place. So I'm like, all right, maybe we should start growing a garden. So
Ah,
we were on a rented property, so we're looking around for little pieces of property, never intending on actually farming.
sure.
Uh, but the path I had to take to get to work took me right down County S, which is where we're at currently now. And there was two greenhouses for sale. So I called the realtor on the greenhouses, and I said, "Well, what are you guys asking for the greenhouses off of County S here and just outside of Forestville?" And the realtor goes, "Oh, $325,000." I was like, "Holy shit!" For two greenhouses, that
Yeah,
better be
right.
gold plated for that price. All right, I
Yeah,
mean, what? That's way more than I was
auto harvesting
anticipating.
greenhouses or something.
Oh yeah, she goes. Actually, actually, so it's a 40-acre farmette. It's got all the outbuildings and stuff like that. But the way that they've got the trees planted, unless you're looking, and if you're doing 60
Oh,
down county, yes, you're not. Unless you're
yeah,
paying attention, you're gonna miss it, and I
sure.
miss it every time. She goes, "Would you be interested in looking at it?" I said, "Shit, I ain't got nothing going on Friday. We'll come take a look." So I went home and I was talking with my wife, and I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go look at a farm on Friday." We just spoke with a realtor. She goes, "What the hell?" We weren't even talking about buying a house. We weren't
Sure. Oh God. Then
pre-qualified.
you throw this three hundred and
Oh yeah,
twenty-five thousand dollar curveball in there.
oh
Okay.
yeah. I show up right after work. I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna go look at a farm on Friday, sweetheart." What do you
Hey,
think?
real quick, folks, that's what they call big gajones.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
called dangerous. Let me tell you that. That's yeah. Sometimes you don't want to cross the mama, but
Right.
we went and we looked at it, and we fell in love with it. And then we went through the process of getting pre-approved and so on and so forth. But we looked at it on Black Friday, 2017, and we moved in that February. We moved in the last weekend of February. The first weekend of March, we put everything away. The second weekend of March, we fired up the greenhouses and started planting.
Jeez.
They're like, we're going at it. Here we go.
Yeah. And so, did you
And
have much growing background at the time?
nothing.
What? You just bought
Absolutely
some
nothing.
greenhouses and said we're gonna grow some stuff.
Everything I've learned is self-taught. I mean, I taught myself how to sail. We used to sailboat race all over the Bay of
What the
Green Bay and on
hell?
Lake Michigan. Fun
That's
story for
awesome.
you. I'll never forget the day I bought this. I bought this 25-foot old day, and I bought it in like mid-September, right? And it was this is the that's late season. People are packing up their boats, getting them put away, so on and so forth. Like the day that I signed the title, and the title of the stuff was transferred over at the marina. It was at Nest Egg Marina in Marinette.
Okay.
And the salesman goes, "Man, you bought this boat at a great time." He goes, "You got the rest of fall to get it cleaned up because it was a bit of a fixer upper. The guy had parked
Sure.
there and it was flooded and so on and so forth." But what he didn't know is the whole week before that, I was there after work every night scrubbing the inside of that bad boy, getting it ready.
Uh,
He goes, "You bought this at a great time. You got the rest of fall and all the spring to work on it and get it cleaned
And
up
you're
before
like,
you get it in the water." I'm like, "What are you talking about, guy?"
I didn't buy a
I said,
boat to look at it.
I said the biggest guy I know is at the marina right now, waiting for me to get there to help me stand this mast up. This is going in the water tonight. I said, and I will see you next Wednesday at Wednesday night sailboat races. And sure
What the
enough,
hell? Okay.
absolutely. So I showed up Wednesday night sailboat races.
What?
Not I'm watching YouTube videos and stuff like that, trying to figure it out. And I'm like, okay, well, eventually there comes a point to where you can only watch so many videos. You got to get the boat in the water and start pulling ropes and see what
Sure.
works and what doesn't
What
work.
does what? Yeah, yeah.
And that's just kind of how my brain's wired. That's how it works.
Sure.
So I get this sailboat out there, very first time I got it out there, and I'm racing like, okay, well, the guys that know, and I'm single handed, so usually you've got a crew that's on a sailboat. You're not doing it by yourself because there's a
You're by
lot of stuff
yourself?
that's happening. So I'm by myself. It's called single handed racing, so it's a little bit slower because you can't do the sail changes quick or whatnot. But nonetheless, wind's blowing about 10 knots, not very big waves. We get around the first buoy, and here I am as a newbie. I'm neck and neck with this guy named Captain Jack, and he's also single handing it, right? So I was like, holy cow. Okay, I think I got this. We're getting it dialed in, right? I lock the sails down. I crack open a beer, get about halfway through the beer, and I kind of peek around my sails. And the guys that have crews and know what they're doing, they're 4 miles in front of me. I mean, they're cruising. They got bigger boats too,
Yeah.
right? So they're just flying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all of a sudden, I see their boats start heeling over and peeling off all over the place. I'm like, oh shit, we got some wind coming. Which,
Yeah.
from watching my YouTube videos, I know I've got two options. I can either reef the sails down a little bit, or I'm gonna put my life jacket on and see if I can hold on to this bitch.
Oh my god.
Which was the choice I made, which turned out to be the incorrect choice.
Uh-oh.
That wind came, and don't get me wrong, the wind that ended up coming here, this was like a once in a 30
Yeah,
year event that happens
sure.
on the Great Lakes. These
Of
guys that
course it
race
was,
here,
right? Of
of
course it
course it
was,
was.
Jake.
First time out on a boat, and of course,
Yeah.
shit that never happens.
Oh my
But
gosh.
it knocked the whole boat over, and I was like, son of a buck. So I untie everything, spilt my beer all over the place. Captain Jack's boat veers over and almost smashes into my boat. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, I've got my life jacket on, so let's see if we can get these sails reefed down. Got them reefed down. It took like 15 minutes, and by that point in time, the waves are like 10 foot. And I'm like,
Sure.
all right, I gotta let's see if we can motor this bad boy back in. But that motor had old gas, could have been sitting for a while. I
Oh, I'm
threw
sure.
some
Yeah.
fresh
You
stuff
you
on
were planning
top
on
of
having to
it,
use
but
that gas.
I wasn't planning on having to use that much, so whatever. But I had to hold that motor wide open to finally get it back into the marina. I get it back into the marina, and I go to throttle the motor back, and it dies. I'm like, oh,
Of
shit.
course.
And then the wind blows me, and I'm
Oh
literally
shit. There
drifting
goes Jake.
directly towards the sheriff's boat. And I'm like, I
Oh, nice.
can't go out first time racing and start trading paint with the sheriff's boat. No
Yeah, no
one's gonna
kidding,
let me
dude.
live this down.
At
So I
what
got
point do
it.
you just pull the plug and sink the bitch? No.
I was inside the marina, so that would have been a rough one. That would have been expensive to dig out of there. Probably not so much if it was in the middle of the bay, but that was
Sure.
in a bad
But dude,
spot.
that's awesome. Talk about resiliency and
Oh
just
yeah, you figure it out. And the reason why Captain Jack's boat swung over is because when his boat got knocked out, he actually broke his arm.
oh, okay.
And yeah, there's still a video on YouTube of that because it's I finally got it to the dock where I'm on a dock and I'm holding on to I got one hand on my boat and I got one hand on the dock and we almost lost the whole thing. But
It's on YouTube?
oh yeah, and actually it's so there was another boat. It was called Sadie Hawkins, and these guys were good. I mean, these guys like finished the course even through
Yeah.
this all this wind and stuff. And they got back to the dock and they docked, and they saw me coming in, and you can actually see them like they sprinting down the dock, and then they got to hang a left and they come all the way back up the next dock to try to help me. But when they get to the end of the first dock, you can see the ambulance there with Captain Jack getting loaded in the back of the
Oh my
ambulance.
god.
Yeah, it
Well,
got shaky real quick, but you can't be afraid to jump in feet first, whether
quite
it's
literally
sailing
jump
or
into
jump in feet
a
first. Yeah,
sailboat and just
Yep.
head for the high seas. Dude.
And head her on. Here we go.
Jake was headed to Michigan, bro. He's like, I'm gonna figure this out. Oh my god, that's awesome.
That was
Well, dude, and
beautiful.
I think what I'm getting from you, man, is that's how a few of these things in your life has just kind of. So this gardening was no different, or this greenhouse, right? It was just
Correct. Yep. Jumped in feet
get informed
first.
as much as you can, check your resources,
As
and
soon as an individual finds out that failure is the single best learning tool,
yep,
you're not afraid to jump into anything. And that's
right,
what it was. We failed on so many things. We
sure.
failed so many crops.
I was
We
gonna say, yeah,
wrecked a lot of stuff. That's part of the
pulling your
game.
hair out over money, like planting crops and all that. That ain't cheap, folks. I mean,
There,
my
yeah, and
dad
there's
just
times,
was doing some small plots and stuff, just like
yeah,
small. Like when I think plot, I think big, but just some pumpkins, like 100
yeah.
pumpkins. And he's like, yeah, and it didn't work. And it was like four. I was like, holy shit. Yeah.
You
So
got some money, you got invested in that, and that's like
exactly.
this spring. It kept raining and raining and raining this spring, and we lost a lot of crop. We lost probably $30,000 in crops just because it wouldn't quit raining.
Sure.
But nonetheless, we got the farm kicked off. We jumped full feet into that, and after about 2 years of farming regular, the actual process of growing and then actually being able to consume that nutrient dense food, which
Sure.
circles back to what you were saying before with the quality of the food that we consume,
Right.
changed my life.
No
So,
shit.
I mean, the quality of food that you eat affects your health, which in turn affects your mental health.
Yep.
So, if you are struggling, take a good look at what you're eating. Get rid of the sodas, all the sugars, and all that garbage that has a massive impact on your health and your mental health. Get rid of it. It's not needed. And stuff's addictive.
Well, and that's
So,
so when we talk about like how cannabis, quite literally life changing for you. But again, by these folks who are running the country and got the best medical staffs in the world, even
yep,
today, they're still deciding if it should be like fully legal or this, that, like,
blows my
whose
mind.
interests are at play? Because just like food, we talk about, dude, I can't believe when he told me when this, he's also like a trainer guy and he's explaining to me what to look for in ingredients, bro. When you go to the when you go
Yeah,
with a list of what you shouldn't be eating to a grocery store, it's scary what
it's
you
been that.
can
Yeah,
eat. Like,
yeah,
but and we trust these people, right? We trust a Kraft or a Heinz or all these big
yeah,
corporations, right? Because you would think that they want us to be healthy, but it all comes down, it seems like, to profit. So if I'm trying
yes,
to sell food, Jake, what am I going to make sure that food does? All I care about is you want more of it, and that's scary. But
yeah.
dude, uh, that could be wow. Uh,
And that's and I want to touch on the point here because you said you should be able to trust them
yeah,
because we're assuming that these major companies function like you and I do because
sure.
we
Same with
wouldn't
our
do that to.
politicians,
And same with our politicians. Okay, we wouldn't do that to somebody else.
right?
So it's hard for us to conceptualize how anybody would be that devious to be able to put these levels of poisons and dyes and stuff into our foods. So I mean, just to be able to, that's we decided to transition it over to a nonprofit and actually start teaching others how to do this, other veterans how to do this specifically.
That's what I was
So,
gonna just ask.
yep,
So at some point, you kind of you fine tune, you start figuring out how to do some of these crops. What was it? At what point is it? Because maybe did you have some people helping you who were fellow vets, or at what point did you say, "Hey, I want to"? It's again kind of like advocacy for me. Obviously, I
yeah,
think you're way more of a badass and been doing it way longer. So I always hope people don't realize I'm not comparing apples to apples. But you felt something in your heart that was like, "Wait a second, I've got it figured out. This is not like your sailboat racing, right?
oh yeah,
This is like, wait a second, I want to get more people involved. What kind was that? A quick thing? Was it a
that was
something was eating at
actually
you?
that was actually a little bit of a process. Well, because I could quite figure out how to put two and two together, and but I eventually did, and we did transition this over into a nonprofit. The original intent was to be able to help veterans start their own farms.
Sure,
Okay, and that intent still exists. It's just over the course of the last 3 or 4 years here, the ability to farm has become harder and harder and harder every single year with the level of inflation that we've seen. Our inputs are through the roof,
sure,
yet my prices that we sell at haven't really changed.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's becoming more and more difficult, but that doesn't mean we're giving up.
Sure.
Our goal has always been to get nutrient dense food into the hands of as many veterans as we can. And we don't want to just give the food. We want to teach you how to grow it. We want to teach you how to cultivate it. We teach you how to cook it. We teach you how to can it and how to store it, the whole
Oh,
night. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm still learning.
sure.
So after this deer season here, I was very successful this deer season. I shot 5 deer opening day.
Nice.
Think that's I was in a mood. So
I was gonna say, yeah,
everything
yeah.
got shot.
You must not be where I hunt because it's we couldn't get any extra doe tags. Hopefully, you're playing by the books out there,
Oh
Jake.
yeah, don't in Door County here. When you buy a license, you get 1 buck tag and 4 doe tags.
Oh, you do
Oh
legitimately?
yeah, legit, like full legal.
Holy!
Yo yeah, all 5 of those
Hey,
deer are
hey, can
fully
Bobby
legal.
Beans get some venison next year?
Oh, I got something special for you. We took so out of those 5 deer, I took 6 hindquarters and we actually salted them. So salting meat is actually how we used to preserve meat before we had refrigeration.
Okay.
So I've got 6 hindquarters sitting in my cooler right now, my glass door cooler, a walk-in cooler, that are aging. They won't be ready for probably another 4 months or so, four or
Oh
five
shit!
months come springtime. But you salt it, and what that does is that all the juices will actually leak out into the salt. It dissolves the salt, and
Sure.
then through osmosis, it actually sucks that salt back into the meat and
What?
kind of dehydrates the meat and preserves it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's got salted meat. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh,
So we're first time ever. Don't know how it's going to turn out, but these are
that's
the
cool
things
though.
that we want. But these are the things that we're learning, and these are the things that once successful,
You can
hey,
implement
Eric,
and share. Yeah, Eric.
we can teach that. So I mean, that's the big thing. So there's a lot of stuff
That's
that
dope.
we're still learning. There's some stuff that we're switching gears on, but because we've learned, I think even our bees, our beehives, we're taking a whole new tact on bees, and this is probably a whole new tact outside of what's even being done in the entire United States of America.
Oh God, what do you
Oh
got? Are you
yeah,
getting bees high? You got like
didn't think about
are
that,
you
but
out
I'm
there
it's worth a
smoking
shot.
and
It's
they're
worth a
flying
shot.
around getting high with you, Jake? Is that what's going on? They're making CBD, honey.
Not
What do you
quite
got
yet.
going on with
Not
the
quite
hive?
yet. So the traditional beehives that you see people using are something called a Longsworth hive. Okay.
Yeah,
So farting around one day, I actually just on YouTube because that's where I learn a bunch
learn.
of shit because I learn
Yeah,
stuff. Okay, and I'm curious. I think one of the biggest things that people lost in life is they've lost their curiosity and their
yep.
curiosity to learn. So
Right, we gotta play it safe, right? You don't want to ruffle no
exactly.
feathers.
Yep. So I actually discovered something called a Swedish bee house. Okay, so over in like Sweden and Finland, who also has very very harsh winters, they don't use the Longworth hive. They have something called the Slovenian hive, and they actually keep it inside of a building.
Okay.
Okay, inside of like a shed almost. So this isn't done as far as I know, United States of America. I've consulted with several master beekeepers, and it sounds like nobody in Wisconsin is doing it. For certain, nobody's doing it in Wisconsin. But being able to one of the hardest things with bees is to get them to overwinter. The winters are harsh. The cold isn't what gets them. It's actually the moisture. And those bees will actually keep the internal temperature that hive at 97 degrees. They'll actually dislocate their wings and vibrate their wings at a specific frequency that generates heat. And they will keep the interior of that hive at 97 degrees.
That's gotta be the
So,
most bizarre thing I've heard in like 2 months,
oh,
bro.
bees are
What?
fascinating. Absolutely
They
fascinating.
disconnect. They don't hook their wings back up later, do they,
Oh
Jake?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they hook them
No
back up. Yeah.
bullshit. I call
So,
bullshit.
and there's different bees
What?
inside the hive. So you've got nursery bees, you've got guard bees, you've got worker bees, you've got cleaner bees. You got one queen bee. There's one queen that managed that she's the queen of the show. She manages that
Yeah.
whole thing. Okay. So
You got
with
one of those
these,
at your house, don't you, Jake?
oh, I got a queen bee here. Oh yeah, and she definitely manages the whole thing. That's for certain.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
when she's speaking, we're jumping.
Yeah,
But
right, right.
the Slovenian hives, instead of working the traditional Longworth hives, you work with them from the top down and they come in boxes. That Slovenian hive actually works from the back to the front, which means all your guard bees, the ones that are coming and trying to attack you when you're trying to
Yep.
manage the hive, they're actually in the front of the hive. So when you're working it from the back to the front, you almost have to wear no gear because the guard bees aren't coming out trying to attack you.
Right. That's
So
interesting.
you can actually, we've got the plan set up to where we're actually going to take, Well, conveniently, the deer stand I got right now is actually on a hay wick, and we're actually going to put these hives inside the.
Of course it is.
Of course, it is because it was twofold here, but you can put the hives are actually located inside. They still have the ability to fly out, so they still have the little exterior part. You do put the hive tied up against the wall because they do have to do something called the January clean out, where all those bees will fly out of the hive about mid-January. So it'll be a little warmer day. They will all fly out, shit, and then fly back into the hive. So you go out there one day and you will see a whole line of bee shit in the snow. That's they just got done doing their January clean out.
What the
But so they still need to have access to the outside. But because the whole the entirety of the hive is actually inside a building, it's blocked from the wind. You have multiple hives that are inside that little shed, all running at 97 degrees. Now you have a heated room. Works out well. So this is a much better chance of actually getting the bees to overwinter, and you can manage them throughout the winter. The only issue that we're going to really be having is that level of bees, we're going to run out of food. So
Oh,
we're actually able to apply for some grants through the state of Wisconsin, and the state of Wisconsin will actually pay you to plant native pollinator strips and pay you to maintain that. So
oh, wow.
we've got some open acreage, and actually along the actual exterior of the property, we're probably going to burn that down this spring and plant wildflowers so that we've got enough food for these bees and continue to move forward with that. But another thing also, bees, when they are vibrating, they're flying around doing bee things that they actually fly around and buzz in the frequency of C, which has been proven to actually calm symptoms of PTSD.
Oh, no shit.
So inside of our Swedish bee house, we are going to have a nice recliner. So if you
Yeah.
are struggling, you can come, sit
Right.
in the recliner, chill, maybe have a little herbal substance along to boot,
Sure, sure.
and yes, chill with the bees and maybe get a little high.
Dude, that's cool as hell, Jake. Whenever you're doing that, I want to check this out, Jake. I would just want to take notes. I want to learn. Hey, Jake, anytime you got any one of these projects that pops up and you just need somebody that's your little helper, all right, we'll call me the helper.
Oh, we
Jake,
got
come
lots of
on.
stuff
This is
every
awesome.
Thursday night. So that's one thing that we've done. So after we transition this over to a nonprofit, one of the things that we do here is every single Thursday night we have something we call our harvest party.
Okay.
We got a pile of veterans that come, volunteers that come. We don't care if you've been in the service, prior service, doesn't matter. But we all harvest for a couple of hours, and then I put on a big spread of food for everybody.
Okay.
Because it doesn't matter where you go in the world, okay? Community is always built around food. That is
Yeah.
absolutely critical. We sit down and we break bread and we have a meal together every single week with the same folks, and that's kind of turned into our little farm, our little farm family, or our family, as we like to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's something we look forward to every single week. And unfortunately, as soon as daylight savings hit, that kind of shoots that whole program right in the ass. But
Yeah.
every single Thursday, we've got that. We are going to be reorganizing. We're finally done with the farmers market in Green Bay.
Oh,
We
okay.
were there for 2 years to help move produce and kind of waiting in the wings for our co-op to get established enough. But we are a member of an organization called Seasonal Harvest as well. And that Seasonal Harvest, we are actually able to sell a lot of produce to like school systems.
Oh, nice,
So
man.
instead of selling, 2 or 3 tomatoes to customer Susie down the road,
Yeah.
we can sell 150 pounds of cucumbers at a shot.
That's dope.
And we were pulling
And
that.
to
We
feed the
were,
kids.
and it's going to
Legitimate
the kids.
food.
And that was kind of the premise of
Yeah.
Seasonal Harvest and how they got started was we like the school systems would like to buy local because it's good stuff.
Right.
But farm my size or these smaller farms, we can't grow to the size, scope, or frequency that even just one school needs.
Sure.
But if you take 30 or 40 small farms and kind of pool them together, well, now we can fill big orders. So one of our biggest customers also is the Green Bay Packers. We sold a lot to the Green Bay Packers this year.
Oh, awesome, man.
So the Packers
For
will
the
only
players,
buy
or
my
do you know if it was for
Oh
the
yeah,
players or for? Oh,
it's
cool.
purchased directly from the chef, made specifically for the players.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we
hey,
feed them
when
boys
we
a lot.
win, you can be like, yeah. Yeah,
I was
that was them
uh,
jalapenos we whipped up out there. Yeah, yeah,
it was Aaron Rodgers, or not Aaron Rodgers, but Jordan Love's first season. He comes out there and we just smokes the Bears, right? And we're like, all
yeah,
right, this is going to be great. And at this point in time, the Packers were buying 100 to 150 pounds of green beans from me a week, right?
sure.
Season got later into the season, and as soon as I ran out of green beans, the Packers started losing. I'm like,
Oh
son of a,
shit.
like shit. This is all my
Okay.
fault.
Yeah,
Quick,
no, dude.
get some fertilizer on them
Hey, how are them
beans,
green
bro.
beans
We
looking
gotta
this year, Jake?
grow.
We got it. You got enough on deck? You need help? What do we need to do?
Oh, unfortunately, the green beans are out of season. Otherwise, so we can, it's not my fault this year. But
Right.
no,
No,
the
fair.
Packers are doing pretty solid this year. But
No, that's awesome, man. Just community. That is
it's
so.
rebuilding
I'm
the
sorry. Do you
community.
still do the Thursday right now, or you're kind of
We
hang
will
tight?
we'll be picking that back up come springtime. So when we
Okay.
start rolling into springtime, we got some great stuff coming on. I Yeah, this holiday party that we just had last weekend, that was kind of the last hurrah for 2024.
Gotcha. Okay.
Some of the stuff that we do have coming up is through the course of this year, we actually set up an online CSA program. This is a little bit different than your traditional CSA model. So your traditional CSA model is your farmer grows a bunch of stuff, and then each week you get a box of whatever's in season.
Okay.
The way that we're managing our CSA program is it's all on our website, and it's a $10 a month membership fee that gets you access to our online store where all of our produce is available. We also have our chickens available because we grow and raise our own chickens. We're going to have beef available up there as soon as I can get it inventoried. We had a butchering class a couple weeks ago. The beef is here. Just haven't had the free second to get it inventoried and established up on the website, but we do a lot of sheep as well. So we're going to have lamb up there available. And this is also the spot to where when we have other veterans actually starting up their own farms, their products are going to go up there as well.
Real
So
quick,
we
where was
can
this at now?
www.dcfarmforvets.org. That's our website. And I believe this online store is still up there. Hasn't been updated yet. So I think I got to fix that yet tonight too. Because
And real quick, you said that anybody can buy from there.
no, you got to be a member to be able to
Or,
purchase.
no, but
Yeah.
anybody can sign up to be a member.
Oh yeah, anybody can sign up to be a member. And what we're
Okay,
look
hang on.
so
I
we're
gotta
also
get this.
looking we're looking
I
for
gotta get
very
this link to the
specific
people.
members. Yeah, and we're looking for very, very specific members because we're only taking on about 20 members. Okay, so this membership is going to be a journey. This isn't just a normal thing because what we're going to be doing, we're actually going to be sitting down in January. So our goal is to sell about $100 per week to each of our members, and that's going to
Okay.
include produce, eggs. That's going to for the chicken, the beef, the whole ball of wax. That's the goal. That's kind of what we need to kind of
Sustain.
survive, right?
Yeah.
All the herbs and spices, the whole ball of wax. But obviously, in able to do that, I got to be growing stuff that I know that you want.
Yeah.
Because if you don't want kale, it's kind of a waste of my time growing kale.
Yeah.
Obviously, the members aren't going to be buying that. So this January, we're actually going to be sitting down with our members, and they're going to be the ones dictating what we're going to grow. So you get a full-on custom farmer that's going to be growing the stuff that you are for sure going to have or sure you're going to want.
Jeez, that's
And
pretty
we're
dope.
actually going to expand for that. And when we say that the expectation is that $100 a week, we're not expecting that right up front. We understand that one, we're not going to have everything right off the bat. And obviously, there's seasons that's going to go into it. And we also know that cooking is almost a lost art. Now, a lot of people know how to cook like from scratch, like how to make your own hot dog buns and how to make
Oh,
sourdough and that kind.
yeah.
I mean, there is some extra work, and I mentioned everybody's very very busy and so on and so forth. So, what we want to do is we want to work directly with our members to get to that point, and it is going to be a journey. So something like our chickens, okay, our chickens right now we're selling for $35 per chicken. That's actually
Okay.
below market rate. Okay, I mean market rate right now, or market price for chicken right now is like 4.50 a pound.
Okay.
So our chickens are rolling in right now anywhere from like 8 to 10 pounds. That's a big chicken. Okay, I
Yeah.
mean it's barely fitting in your crock pot. So
Sure.
one chicken actually feeds my family for 2 nights. And then I also have enough chicken left over off of that chicken in order to take a couple of chicken salad sandwiches to work. Okay. And you still have that carcass left over. You take the bones afterwards and you can make
Boom.
stock out of that,
Yeah.
or you can make a bone broth.
Sure.
So Does it sound expensive? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Is it more expensive than the grocery store? Yeah. But what you can get out of it is way more than that $35. Okay.
Well, and
You're
that's
getting,
what realizing, this, like I said, going to these grocery stores and looking for stuff that doesn't have this stuff in it.
yep.
That is, you're paying for. It's almost the exclusivity of having real food,
Yeah.
because the masses just want the cheapest food. Like,
Yep.
um,
Well, and that's what it is. So you get the cheap food now, but you're paying medical bills in the future.
exactly.
Okay. It
Or in
does
your
come full circle.
lack
No
of being
matter
able to think and focus,
exactly.
and
No matter what, it's expensive. Okay.
sure,
And that's what we want to do. And we want to teach that. So, I mean, if you're struggling, so it can be simple. It doesn't have to be a whole lot of work. So, like the chicken that we were just talking about, I literally take it out of the freezer. It sits for a day in the refrigerator in a sugar or a brown sugar and salt brine. And then the next night, it goes into the crock pot on warm, not low or high, but on warm. We season it up, whatever your favorite seasoning is. Sometimes we'll throw some apple or pears on the inside for a little extra sweetness, but then it's ready to go for next supper. It's
sure,
literally pull it off of the bone. It doesn't get much simpler than that. But that's the stuff that we're going to be teaching. There's a lot of stuff that we're teaching coming up next summer. One of the biggest struggles we've had with teaching these classes is every single Saturday I'm locked in at that farmer's market, which happens to be one of the only days that people can actually come to the farm and take classes.
sure.
So we want to be able to teach things like how to make homemade soap. Okay, you
Oh,
want to save some money? How to make you can make a 5 gallon bucket of laundry detergent for like $15.
mm,
Why do we
okay.
keep going and spending 12 to
I,
$15 on a half gallon of this when I can make a 5 gallon bucket for the same price?
that's
Okay,
crazy.
so
Did not know that.
but also this is how things come around actually politically as well. Okay,
Yeah,
a lot of us, a lot of people when you talk to them, we're in a society of debt. Okay,
yeah,
so you're forced to work these jobs. You're forced to work for the man per se or whatnot. But the only way that we can get power and control back over our lives is to start living outside of the systems that they've created.
yeah,
Okay. Step one on doing that is to start buying all of your food from local farmers.
sure,
Okay. One, we're going to be much healthier, all of us. Okay. So we're going to be starving the medical institutions, which then the insurance companies, we're going to be starved as well. And you're also going to starve the pharmaceutical companies.
sure.
Okay. Just think of the impact that that's going to have. So, like right now, I was just listening to a podcast on the way home from my kids' driving class. Uh, the GDP of the United States, right, 18% of our GDP is medical expenses or medical costs. It is absolutely astronomical. They
That's crazy.
profited $25 billion. And do you know how we help fix that? We started just rediscovering the medicines of yesteryear. Okay. Some of the most prominent things that you can do is mullein. One of like right now, this is cold and flu season, right?
Sure.
So one of the best things that you can do to actually help with a chest cold, you get yourself some mullein. It's that
What the
corn
hell
stalk
is mullet?
mullein. It's
Oh,
Mullen. It's actually, if you're driving on the highways, it's that corn stalk looking thing.
oh yeah.
Okay, that's mullein. That is the best expository you'll ever have. You take a bunch
What
of
do you?
those leaves, you
Yeah.
dry it up. Yeah, I just got it hanging on the wall in the kitchen here, and you make tea out of it. And it actually
Okay.
breaks up all that mucus and stuff that's in your lungs. That's what it does. You can smoke it. It's kind of hard. It's a little dense to smoke. To
Hey, I
tell
know
you
what
the
I like to
truth.
smoke, Jake. Don't. I'm
I
good.
know, yeah. You might a little sprinkle a little bit of that mullet on top, but
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
yeah,
Use it.
smoking it didn't work quite nearly as well as I anticipated. But nonetheless,
No,
you
I
can make
got
a
you. Where do
great
you get
tea with.
mullen?
Fuck, it grows all over the place. It's literally
I'm not
all
going to
the.
pick mullen, Jake. I ain't got.
Oh,
I'm gonna pick the
you
wrong
just
shit. I'm gonna get
you just
poison ivy, and I'm gonna be calling you for help.
you come
Where
on
do I
up
get
here. I
mullen?
will walk it to you. You come up to the farm. I got mullein growing all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah, and as soon as you know what it is and you start watching for this stuff, you'll see it everywhere. I was just at a job site the other day. Uh, or was it this morning? I don't know. I had my 40
I
hours in
feel
by
you there,
noon
dude. I
today. So
feel
I
you
mean
there, man.
we've been running it pretty hard with the temperature drop. But nonetheless, this is a new construction site. And one of the things with mullein, it actually takes 2 years before it actually seeds. So it just so happened they had a bunch of them. It seeded, and all the piles, all the fill piles that they had were just covered in this mullein. It's all over the place.
Well, real quick, we got a question. First year,
Yeah.
or I'm thinking he means first year or second year mullen.
Yeah, the second year mullein, when it's actually going to bud, that's when you want. That's when it's going to have the most problem. You can still use the first year stuff. It's just not going to have the potency that the second year stuff would have.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
Sorry,
yeah,
I
you
didn't mean to
kind of
interrupt, but we got a
no.
question.
That was a great question. Great question, especially when we talk about natural medicines like this.
Sure.
Also, if you actually have like a cough, okay, well, some of the best cough medicine you're ever going to have is take an onion. You chop up an onion and you cover that onion in honey. You put that on the stove and you heat it up slow. You don't heat it up fast, heat it up nice and slow and give it some time until those onions are nice and soft. Then you pull it off the heat and you let it cool naturally. Once it gets down to room temperature, take those onions out, scoop them out, toss them in the garbage. And you want to take 2 to 3 tablespoons of that 2 to 3 times a day, and that will be the best sore throat and cough medicine that you're going to ever have.
Really? No kidding.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. I use that honey and onion tincture along with mullein, and I knocked this massive cold right out of my body within 24 hours. And my wife decided to not listen to me, and she's still fighting it after a week and a half.
Your wife didn't listen, Jake.
I know, shocker,
Jake, come on,
shocker. I know. Love her to
dude.
death, but
Hey, okay, so I'm gonna offer something to Jake that I don't think I've done this yet, Jake. I think we've been doing podcasts just over a year, but Jake, I feel like I want to do another episode with you because I feel
yeah.
like we could go another episode's worth. But I also know you got a lot of shit going on, and we're at that hour mark, and I hate keeping people over an hour because if someone asks me to do a podcast, I'm blocking an hour, and if it's longer, I'm pissed. So, uh, and because like especially now learning a little bit more about you, like man, is it cool
we
if we push out like a part two of this, push it out a couple weeks after the holidays? Um,
absolutely.
dude, thank you.
We haven't even gotten to the political and philosophy yet,
No,
man.
no,
We
but I
haven't
didn't
even
want to
touched
yet.
that
I
yet.
wasn't like I'm not. No, no, no. First of all, I'm ready to go look for Mullen. Second of all, dude, ah, you're a pretty cool dude, Jake. Thank you
Thank you, thank you.
for joining us. This
If
way
you
too, I
think
can.
if you think mullen's impressive, wait till I tell you about prickly lettuce, turkey tail mushrooms, and well, the natural St. John's wort.
No shit. Okay. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna wrap my head around a little more of how to get some of your info, bro. Thank you. I see why Eric introduced me to you. Jesus, like I'm wondering if I should even be a cannabis advocate right now. I'm like, shit. We need to get the good food to the people. Like I've heard stories about that, or like of these natural remedies and stuff, but I can't even.
Yeah,
You can't even. It's hard to Google this stuff, and I swear they probably don't want us to Google it, Jake.
that's
Like
for a
they want us.
reason. That's for a reason. And obviously, any single time this was a learning curve, and I've consulted with people of herbalists that have done this before, and a tremendous amount of research. Do not do what I do and just jump both feet
Yeah,
in when it
right.
comes to this stuff here, because you can get hurt, especially
Sure.
when it comes to the mushrooms. There's a lot of sketchy mushrooms out there that can get you hurt, but there's like a turkey tail mushroom.
Right.
It's actually anti-cancerous. So
Sure.
like if you're in Japan or over in Europe, the first line of a fight of a cancer patient's fight is turkey tail mushrooms. So if you're in Japan, before you go through chemo, you're getting turkey tail mushrooms.
Are you kidding me, dude?
And it literally grows on the logs behind my woodshed all over the
Okay.
place. So
Bro, do you see some of these comments we got here? I mean, we got we get awesome folks on here, but everyone's like, yes, we need this guy coming back. My kind of guy, Jake rocks. We
thank
might
you
have to
all.
turn this
Thank
into the
you.
Bobby Beans and Jake show. I'm down for that, dude.
I'm ready for it. I
All
got
right.
lots to say, especially we got some politics to come and talk to, but that's
No,
where it all comes
definitely.
in. We could take the power back, but we have it all starts with first how we one where we spend our money, and two
Yeah,
how we help take care of our neighbors.
sure. That's yeah. I can that I mean it makes sense. Jesus. Thank you, Jake.
Thank
I'm
you. I
gonna
really
unpack some of
appreciate it.
this. Wow. Wow. You okay. This guy. Guys, get some questions to this guy, not just cannabis. Let's tap into this resource we've kind of found here. I don't know how the hell this one happened, folks. Uh you're
Everything
awesome,
happens.
Jake. Thank you.
Everything happens for a reason, brother. So
It
I
does,
really
man. And
appreciate it.
100%. Thank you. I gotta think. I've got to know people who need to know about this market thing you're doing. That's awesome. Just you keep doing you, buddy. Whenever you got a chance, let me know. Whenever you want to hop back on, let me know. We'll pave the way. I'll push senators, presidents. I don't give a shit. I need Jake on this thing. Appreciate you. You should probably be running for something. And if you do, whatever I can do to help, I'm here for it. The people need people like you, Jake.
We're
I
working on
appreciate
it.
you, sir.
We got some stuff coming up politically. I know at the first of the year, I was asked to sit on the strategic planning committee for the American Farm Bureau Federation. So we're going to be setting up some stuff with that.
Awesome.
More very specifically, to start working on actually getting the GI Bill opened up for veterans to use to start their own farms or buy their existing family farms. So I've networked with several local legislators that are up at the federal level that are already on board. Tony Weed here for the Wisconsin's 8th Congressional District.
Cool.
He is already on board, along with Glenn Grothman, Brian Stiles. I got to speak with Jim Jordan about already as well, along with Ron Johnson and Tammy Baldwin. Both our state senators our federal senators are on board as well too. So
awesome.
Lots to touch base on that.
Well,
That's
and we
probably a
might
whole
need
other
your
episode.
voice. We might need your voice as just real quick, kind of tying this into, we're starting this nonprofit, the Wisconsin Cannabis Safety Alliance. Again, kind of like what you're speaking to, as far as like, it's so frustrating that common sense isn't what gets things done. You need to start a nonprofit. You got to figure out a PAC. You got to all this crap, right? But what's beautiful about it, Jake, is the alliance, as far as the legitimate alliance, the people, the reach of it. And I feel like Jake, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for us to help each other. But I also feel like, now that I think of this, Jake, if I set this thing up, if there's 50,000 dominoes and they're ready to tip, and I just need one guy to come in and direct them 50,000 dominoes, just be ready, Jake, because I don't know where these dominoes keep coming from. But, bro, it's just a beautiful thing. But I'm still like, I don't understand politics. I don't understand. But the people are starting to understand it's going to take this community. And, Jake, just be ready, because
that's one of the biggest things. Like when I was out politicking, we can't address the issues that we're facing unless we understand the history of how we got to here today.
Sure.
And one of the biggest things that we have lost is an understanding of how our government was intended to function.
Amen.
Okay? And if it functioned in the manner in which it did function, it was supposed to have functioned, we would all be much better off. Okay. Right. I mean, we better save that for another episode. I could go
you're
off
good,
on a whole
Thank you.
Office.
We're going to leave it with Ronnie. Ronnie hit it out of the park. Look how a plant can bring so much to so many in one podcast. That's where we're going to leave it. Beautiful. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, everybody, for stopping out. I promise you, if I got to show up to Jake's house, I know where his farm is. I'll go there with a camera. I got a microphone thing now. We're getting Jake back on here. I know he'd love to be on here. So thank you, Jake. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. One love. It's much more than cannabis, but that is kind of the main thing with Let's Legalize Wisconsin. But we all know this is more. It's more than that. So thank you, Jake. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your family tonight, folks. All right, we're out of here.